Folks, this is Corbin. This is for my podcast, The True American. And we have a guest here with me, a brother I have a great deal of respect for, Tony Wheatley. He's running for State Rep District 55. And he at one time was a longtime business owner, very successful business owner. Sold his business and, now he's just basically, from what I'm seeing, just dedicated himself to uplifting the people of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the Commonwealth of Kentucky. A lot of times I read his posts and his other things that he puts out there, and I'm just saying to myself, man, this is a true patriot. This is somebody with common sense. And brother, I hate to say this, but I think if you go up there once you get up there to Frankfurt, you might feel a little isolated, because I just don't think we have enough folks like you up there in Frankfurt. I mean, do you agree or disagree?
Well, I think there are a few up there that seriously could be converted. We've got some strong people up there now. We've got Savannah Maddox and Rayburn, and of course, Adrian Southworth. There's not a whole lot of numbers, but for every conservative Republican we can get in, and I like to call myself a conservative patriot more than a Republican. Because the fact is, a lot of the Republicans up there are just biding their time and trying to give us a little about what we want. And they, if you've noticed over the big issues we've had, such as mandates, et cetera, they will give us just a little. Okay. And we'll settle for it. Well, we have got, as constitutional people, we have to stop settling. And that's where our weaknesses are right now. We're taking what they give us and saying, okay, thank you. And they think they deserve a big pat on their back. But the fact is, they're just watering down everything we put up. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully we can add a few more conservative patriots up there, we can eliminate some of that. And,
right.
It's not going to be overnight, but we do know that there's some strong people up there that they bow down to leadership, what it is. Mm-hmm. And they need a leader besides Savannah to do this. And, I'm offering my services because that's what I do. It's just the fact that we have to live by two principles in this world, and that's the biblical principles and the Constitution. Right. And if we don't, then we're going to fail.
The one thing I remember, one of the first times I guess you might not say, I wasn't formally introduced to you, but I was exposed to you, I guess you might say. Yeah. You handed out a copy of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And I was astounded by that. I said, I have never had anyone hand it to me. Mm-hmm. And brother, I'm a college graduate. Elementary, middle school, high school, Kentucky. College, Berea College. Never had a copy of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Kentucky handed to me. Brother, I'm a political science major. Never had it.
Wow.
And not only did you make it available, it's free, but you were encouraging people to read it. I was like, so this guy's some sort of crazy radical. What's he doing here?
I've been called worse.
Okay.
But, that's the fact. We did a survey and we discovered that most people under 40 years old didn't know what the Constitution was. That they've heard of it, but most of them had heard of it, but they didn't have a clue. They have never read it, never seen it, never seen a copy of it. And so the goal for Constitutional Kentucky, which I used to be the founder of, was to get those constitutions out to people. Right. And we did that, and in pretty good amount last year. I think we handed out over 15,000, and that's a lot. But we didn't charge anybody for them. We whether they're a church or just a young person or a person wanting one, we made sure they got a copy of it. Mm-hmm. We've mailed out a lot of copies of the Constitution to people. So, and we don't never bring in a lot of money. We just bring in and make enough to make them, buy the books and get the posters out. So, right. I was glad we didn't have to charge for these books because
Yes.
they're important for everybody to have a copy of. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Did it ever sort of what was the one thing or the two things that just caused for you to say to put in your heart, hey, I got to do this. I got to get this Constitution into people's hands. Was there an event
But
or
was there a moment? Yeah.
yes?
My 7 year old at the time, she was seven now. She was probably six or five or less. Came home from school one day and just said, they're talking bad about the president.
Hmm.
And I'm going, well, what did you do? She said, I got up and left the room. And
Wow.
I'm thinking, if my daughter can do that, it's at her age at the time. A
Wow.
7 year old now, she's very out there. She'll talk to you all day long about politics.
Hmm.
But that was part of. I'd already started doing the Constitution things, but that it embedded in me to make sure we get enough of them out.
Right.
Because we started off doing that from the get go, but we didn't put a lot of hard work behind it. So when we started listening to what kids were saying and what kids were being taught in the schools, we decided that was enough. So we want to make sure we could get I sent letters to every school that would listen to me
Hmm.
about giving constitutions to them. We started off, private schools were on board with it, but public schools didn't want to have much to do with it. So, but you know how that goes. But
Right.
we have some schools that have taken them, and even if, I don't know what they're doing with them, obviously, because we get not in the classrooms, but if we can just get somebody to pick one up and start reading it and realize these are where my rights are, and these are
Exactly.
and they're if you read into it and you can find biblical principles in there, and that's where we're lacking in this country right now, is people walked away from God,
Yes.
and that I'm just here to try to help bring people back to it,
Right.
to God and the Constitution. So
Right.
and
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. You're running for state rep, District 55.
right.
Uh, are there, first of all, how can people contact you to read your platform, to donate to your campaign?
Well, I'm very open. My phone number is I'll give it and I'll give it to them now. It's 502-377-9795.
Okay.
Uh, I'm always open to taking phone calls if somebody wants to talk to me. I have a website which is Wheatley 4, the number 4, Kentucky.com. And
Okay.
then, of course, I have my Facebook page. There's Wheatley for Kentucky. There's also my personal page, which is where I put most of my things at because it belongs to me. It's personal to me, and
Okay.
that's T L Wheatley, Tony L Wheatley on Facebook. So,
Tony L.
um,
Wheatley on Facebook.
yeah, and
Okay.
that is a what I say on Facebook is how I feel, and uh, the Wheatley for Kentucky just gives a little bit about information about my campaign. But if you want to know the real me, get on my Facebook page. You'll find it. I'm not. I'll talk about different things. I'll talk about sports. I'll talk, whether I like it or not, what goes on in sports. I'll
Right.
talk about what goes on in church, just and across the the universe in general. So
Okay.
I'm not. My comments aren't always you know about politics. So
Okay. Great. Great. All right. Well, we're going to end the interview here, brother. I really appreciate you coming and sharing with us. I often explain to my listeners time and time again why I actually named this podcast "The True American." Is named after a newspaper started by an abolitionist named Cassius M. Clay.
okay,
And a
yeah,
lot of people know Cassius Clay because the great Muhammad Ali was named Cassius Clay,
right,
and they know that he dropped that name, claiming it was a slave name. And
yeah,
yet, when I was back in middle school, actually, my father handed me a book on the history of black folk in Commonwealth, Kentucky, and I found that Cassius M. Clay was an abolitionist
mm-hmm.
and a rather radical abolitionist. He
Yep,
inherited his slaves. White men inherited his slaves, then let them
mm-hmm.
go. And the amount. I mean, he lost tremendous amount of money in doing that.
Yeah, he
And
sure
so
did.
yeah, I mean it was
Well, just proves that money, it's not about the money. It's about the principles of human life. And,
Right.
We all have to learn to respect each other. I may not always agree with someone that's black about the slavery issue,
Mm-hmm.
but I still respect their opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a group of people that went through hard times, but we have to look at it. My philosophy is in life is there's always going to be a hard time for somebody.
Yes.
We have to see how we overcome that,
Right.
and that's what makes the man. How you overcome those hard times, and I
Right.
think we'll all experience it sometime in our lives.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it was massive. But we look at Germany and the Jews and what kind of issues they had to go through.
Right.
We've been very fortunate in America, and I feel like every day we get pushed more into issues that we don't want to be involved in.
Mm-hmm.
But it has happened. But let me tell you one thing that I want to mention why I'm running.
Sure.
Benjamin Franklin was once asked, "What kind of country do we have?" And what did he say? We have a republic if we can keep it.
Keep it. There you go.
I want to be one of those people that can help keep it because we need a lot of people, not probably stronger than me.
Mm.
I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to challenge legislators to do the same thing if I get in. And
Yes.
that's the efforts I've got to make to kind of push things over where we're back looking at the Constitution instead of just going, well, this works, but it's unconstitutional, and we'll pass it anyway. We
Right.
can't do that.
Can't
So,
do that. All right, brother. Thank you again. This is Tony L. Wheatley, folks. Please, he already gave us his contact information. Please use it. Go to that. Go to his Facebook page. This brother's wide open. He's not hiding anything. He's not hiding anything. You ask him, hey, what's your opinion on this? He's going to respond to you. And my suspicion is once he gets to Frankfurt, he's going to be the same way. We need
well,
more patriots like him.
here's the deal. My vote counts for everybody in Kentucky, no matter whether you live in Louisville, Hazard, wherever. How I vote is going to be a respect for the citizens of the whole state,
Yes.
not just my area, because we have, we can ask what we want and demand something for one county or another, but the fact is we've got to vote for the whole state, and
Yes.
that's where our issues are right now. So I'm there to do it. So thank you for
Couldn't
having me.
couldn't agree with you more, brother, and I appreciate you coming on. Let's do this again sometime.
Sure,
All
just
right, brother.
anytime, just call me.